So here are my worms. They finally arrived. It states live product enclosed. Unfortunately, it didn't say live animal. So by the time I received the slip in the mailbox saying to pick up a parcel, they've been sitting there since 7:30 to 2 p.m. So next time I know is to put live product, or have, if you're having worms shipped to you, make sure on somewhere on the box they have please call when they arrive, add your number, and say live animal enclosed, because I asked them about their policies and they stated if it stated live animal, they call immediately and deliver them. So live and learn. So I'm going to open these up and I'm going to come back. So now that the tape is all taken off the box, we'll try to see what's inside, because I've never had them shipped. The worms that you receive may be shipped a lot different. So there's some baffles. It's a lot of worm bedding that I could eventually use to feed them. Wow. Seriously, what is this? I hope that's not where my worms are. Some information that came with the box. Some more baffles. Or egg cartons, but I'm used to calling them baffles from shipping crickets. Okay, and down in here, oh, there's one worm that came out. Oh, you poor little guy. What are you trying to look for? Don't get hurt. Oh, you poor thing. You caught. Oh, don't get hurt. Okay, well, some of the worm, here they are right there. I can't see through. This one looks like an adult because it does have its bands, but it is fairly small. But I've been told if they have bands, and they're sexually mature. So, kind of hard doing this with one hand. And I've read that you can put them in another container and feed them worm chow or worm food. Are they active in here? I don't know. There's one that looks like it's dead. No, he's still moving. Poor little guy. Oh, look at this! Look at them! They're beautiful. Oh wow, look at how they're moving. Oh, this is so cool. They're tiny though. They're beautiful. Is this some of the castings? Oh, here's a little worm. Well, I guess I should actually be showing it to you in the camera. Either that's a new hatched worm or it's some weird translucent thing that shouldn't be in there. Oh, and I got some other weird bug on my finger. That's not a roly-poly. Let me shake these out. Oh, there's some cotton here. Okay, I'm going to empty these containers and I'm going to check my other one and then I'll be back. So as you can see, nice food for the worms, but I'm a little disappointed that it might have been able to be shipped a little bit better. As you can see, several of the worms crawled out of their packaging, ended up on the bottom of the box, and dried out and died. So I had to rescue a few from the bottom of this. I'm hoping there's no more stuck. But a few of them, no, actually that's probably about half a dozen, or that's probably about 2 dozen. Poor things are all shriveled up. But I do have, eventually this can be shredded up and used for worm food. It seems like, and I need to read the directions, but this is possibly worm bedding to start some of my bin off in, but I've already got bedding. And this looks like sand. These aren't soil worms, so they don't live in soil, but they do have what I think they're called the gizzard, and they have no teeth, so this helps them break down. But you don't need a whole lot of it, just a little. So this is container number 2. I'm not seeing anything on the top. One thing I do like about these, this bedding, it is very moist and damp, and the worms do not seem to be dried out except for the ones who decided to leave their habitat. Oh, look at, they're beautiful. If worms could be beautiful. Wow. There's a lot more worms in this one than there is the other one. And you can see little babies. Looks like I definitely received more worms in the second. This is the first bin. They seem a bit smaller. They are active though. And this container, right, they cover those guys. And this container is the second one. Maybe all 2 dozen of my worms came in one container. But there's a whole bunch of them. For some odd reason, I thought red worms were a lot bigger. I know some of these are just born. Oh, and I think I found my first cocoon. This little yellow blob right here. This one looks like it's a real nice adult. Don't know if you can see that. There's a few nice size adults in here. To get my first composting bin started. They're nice and wet. They are not dried out. They are moving around. So they're live and active, which is what I wanted. And if this is what the castings are, I mean, this is beautiful compost. It's kind of like coffee grounds. And then there's another egg cocoon. Oh, get out of here. So, that's the first day of my worms. So I'm going to cover them up with wet piece of newspaper, and by tomorrow I'm going to start feeding them a mushy worm food, which is protein, fat, and fiber. I believe 12, 2.5, and 12. But I've also read that you can feed them rabbit food, which is a little higher, but not that much. So you feed that, and then you introduce them some other compost. If you're feeding them food scraps or manure, coffee grounds, whatever you're going to feed them, then near the end of the second day, you start feeding them that. And then I've also read that if you put your food, when you start up your bin, if you put your food in the corners or the sides and put your worms in the opposite direction, then you know that when you lift after a few days, you lift up your newspaper, your wet newspaper, and if the worms have found the food, then you know they've acclimated to the new home. So this is Tammy, and showing you my new adventure into vermicomposting. And for those who don't know about worms or what they can do for your soil, this is what they look like. Not for the faint-hearted, but they are kind of cool. Thanks for watching. So here's the actual value of what it is. The protein is 17. The fat is 2.5, and the fiber is 18, and this is for rabbit food. It's a lot less for the protein and fiber of worm chow. And the full reason of what I've read, the reason why I read on the internet that you feed these is to help them bulk up. But you can also use oatmeal with oil. There's many different recipes. So here we are in the basement. This is where I'm going to keep the worms. This is the damp. You don't want drops of water coming out of it. But they will eventually eat this as well. You can't really see it. But this is where they're going to be staying, inside the moist, the bedding. And they like between 40 to 80 Fahrenheit. That's why I decided to keep them in the basement, because the outside could be too hot. It's raining right now like crazy, and our winters can get minus 30, so the best place is to keep them inside. And here's a little who eats worms, birds. So here's a little indoor thermometer. Upstairs was just above 70. So we're going to leave it here beside the worms, and we're going to see what the basement temperature is like. And I will keep you updated when I begin to add food. So here they are. They don't seem to be moving very quickly downwards, away from the light. But again, it's not that bright, and they are stressed from shipping. But I wanted to add little cocoons. They're said to hatch 7 baby worms. Thought I'd share one more thing. I'll show you my bin. what my bin looks like. But as I show you my bin, and there's the second tier, and I put holes in a little faucet that's permanently opened. But I'd like to share, working with worms, I'd like to share with you a poem that I once learned when I was a young kid. It's called Ooey Gooey. Ooey Gooey was a worm. Okay, let's try this again. Ooey Gooey was a worm, a little worm was he. He climbed upon a railroad track, the train he did not see. Ooey Gooey. I know it's really pathetic, but hey, I thought it was cute. So here are some wet baffles, egg cartons, shredded up, some coffee grounds, some sawdust with some chicken manure, some shredding, and right underneath here, I'm not going to touch it with my hands, was really smelly liquid food that had been sitting around that I forgot to add carbon, like cardboards and papers, to moisten it up, or to absorb the moisture. And it really reeked, and that's what bad bacteria smells like, and that's what you do not want your bin to smell like. So as my journey continues, I will keep you posted on how to keep a worm bin alive and any other little tidbits that I learn along my journey. Thanks for watching.